Before Light Falls. A story by Stephen Creeks. Read for free at stephencreeks.com.
Chapter 3. Several soldiers had joined us around the stranded fuselage. It looked like the entire base had relocated here. Morris must have called in the cavalry. Everyone had noticed the same thing. No more invisible barrier, no more vibrations under our boots, no more sinister crackling from the Geigers. The radioactivity had vanished as if it had never existed. A young soldier, his face still blackened with soot, shook his head. How can something like this even exist? Another, more nervous. You think it's the Russians? They're mocking us by dressing up their planes? No one answered. But everyone kept their weapons raised. We had absolutely no idea what was inside this thing. And frankly, none of us wanted to be the first to get close to it. I turned to Morris. He was examining the hull, stroking the metal with his fingertips, like a mechanic discovering an unknown model. He moved slowly, eyes narrowed, as if trying to decipher a foreign language.
Colonel, do you think this comes from us?
He didn't answer right away. He placed his palm on the fuselage one last time, as if to verify the machine wasn't going to disappear under his fingers. Then he turned to me.
I don't know where this came from, Grant. But one thing is certain. It didn't come from the US Air Force. That, I guarantee you.
He tapped the hull with his fingertips.
I've never seen technology like this. Not ours. Not anyone's.
A worried murmur went through the ranks. A soldier took a step back. Another tightened his grip on his rifle. We could only hear the breathing of the wounded and the hesitant crunch of boots in the ash. The silence around the craft was heavy, a silence I had never felt on any battlefield. Morris leaned closer to a section of the hull.
Look at this. No rivets, no welding, not a single damn seam.
He raised his flashlight beam. The black surface reflected nothing. It swallowed the light, like a well of ink.
We don't know how to do this, Grant. And I can't see the Russians producing something this clean.
If it's not us, if it's not the Russians, then where does it come from?
That's not the right question, Grant. Look at this.
He shone his light on a small plate engraved under the fuselage, an inscription still legible. You had to almost press your nose against it to distinguish the string of numbers.
It looks like...
Yes, Sergeant. It is indeed a USAF code. Look, AF 063-9127.
063.
You noticed it too. It's definitely a US Air Force code, except we have never used 3 digits for the year. Never. You asked me where this craft comes from. In our serial numbers, the first 2 digits indicate the year of commission, so if I read this literally, this machine would have been delivered to the US Air Force in 2063.
I must have let what I was thinking show a little too clearly, because Morris retorted almost immediately, annoyed.
Don't look at me like I'm talking bullshit. We are here to act. Fast. The scientists will have plenty of time to think later. This thing fell from the sky. It bears our flag. It has no known signature, and it sports a serial number corresponding to an American aircraft. That doesn't exist yet. So the real question isn't where it comes from. It's when it comes from.
Even though the evidence was right in front of my eyes, I couldn't bring myself to believe it.
Sergeant Grant!
I turned around. It was Mitchell, a regular at the infirmary. He seemed pursued by an almost supernatural bad luck. The base dog had bitten him on the thigh. He had taken a radio antenna to the head. He had even been run over by a jeep backing up. A legend. Having him here, on an operation, scared me almost more than the machine itself.
What is it, Mitchell?
I noticed something. Maybe it's not important.
Can you elaborate?
There... Do you see that line? Along the landing gear? I mean, what looks like landing gear?
This hull absorbed light like black sand. But following the direction Mitchell indicated, I spotted what he wanted to show me.
Looks like a crack, doesn't it?
Yeah, Mitchell. Looks like a crack. Good eye, man.
You think the Colonel saw it?
I looked toward Morris, 6 feet away, talking to a soldier back from Site A.
Why don't you ask him?
Mitchell went pale, took half a step back.
I can't, Sergeant. Talk to Colonel Morris. You can't be serious. I'm nobody.
I shrugged. Mitchell wasn't the only one freaking out at the idea of going to talk to Iceman Morris. I signaled to the Colonel.
Colonel, I think Mitchell found something that might help us get inside the craft.
I crouched down and pointed to the barely visible line. Under our beam, the crack appeared clearly. Morris crouched down in turn.
Yeah, I see it. Looks like a hatch. Not a standard opening, a seam. So clean you could walk past it 10 times without noticing. Grant, go get me a light breaching charge. And a Halligan.
A Halligan, Colonel? Here?
I had all the breaching equipment brought up as soon as we got the alert. It's in one of the response trucks. Check with Sergeant Smith. He knows exactly what was unloaded.
The tone invited no discussion. I pivoted immediately and took off at a run toward the jeep, where Smith and Daniels were finishing triage on the wounded.
Smith, the Colonel wants a Halligan and a set of pry bars, and if there's a manual spreader, I'll take that too.
Seriously? You don't want a goddamn can opener instead?
I do, and I need the right model for this goddamn tin can.
I gestured vaguely at the triangular mass behind us. Smith blew air through his teeth, then opened the large metal crate sitting in the back of the truck. He pulled out a bunch of tools, heavy, shiny, sharp stuff. I recognized a crowbar, an extraction lever, and a screw spreader that looked like a mechanical crab ready to crush your hand. Smith dumped it all in my arms as if he wanted to get rid of it as fast as possible.
Be careful not to hurt yourself, Grant. I saw Mitchell around. Bad luck is a contagious disease.
You know where I just came from, Smith? I think I'm immune to bad luck, man.
I was already walking away when his voice caught up to me.
Hey, Grant.
What?
We heard about Peterson.
He looked up, sniffed loudly.
He was a good guy.
He inhaled, as if saying that cost him physically.
It really sucks.
Smith was a knucklehead, incapable of admitting his feelings, always sarcastic, as if nothing was really worth the trouble. And coming from him, those words hit me right in the heart. I simply nodded. I couldn't think about Peterson, not now. The time would come later. I went back to Morris with the gear, Mitchell trotting behind me like a stressed puppy. Morris grabbed the Halligan, spun it in his hand. It looked like he was sizing up an invisible opponent. The weight, the leverage, the point of impact. Morris leaned against the fuselage.
Let's see if this piece of junk obeys physics.
He carefully slid the flat end of the Halligan into the barely visible line. The metal, or whatever it was, didn't react. No vibration, no sound, nothing. Then, a click. A dry sound, almost organic. An icy shiver ran up my spine. Morris froze.
Did you hear that, Grant? I didn't even force it. Seems like it doesn't need much for the hatch to open.
He placed his hand on the dark surface, hesitating.
We proceed. Gently.
He pushed half an inch, barely, just enough to test the resistance, and suddenly, Morris jumped back as if yanked by an animal reflex. The hatch opened all at once, not like a door, not like a panel, no, it unfolded. A dark plate slid downward in a fluid movement, almost alive, like a gigantic metallic tongue unrolling all the way to the ground. A breath escaped. A spit of cold, dense smoke which spread around us with a faint rumble, a low, deep sound, like reverse breathing. I stepped back instinctively. The ramp, because that's what it was, continued to lower until it touched the earth, with a hiss that gave me goosebumps. A sound halfway between metal and something living. When silence returned, a gaping opening faced us. A chasm, a black belly. Morris stood up and turned to the small group that had formed around him.
All right, Grant, Hawkins, Benson. I'll make it short. We're going inside the craft. I can't guarantee we'll make it out. The thing might be booby-trapped like before. I want that to be clear for everyone.
He paused, his steel eyes going from one to the other.
And that is precisely why I am with you. No question of sending you in there without stepping in first myself. Those who know me know I'm not the kind to stay hidden behind a damn desk.
A deathly silence fell. I looked at the guys around me, silhouettes frozen in the harsh light. And for the first time, I didn't recognize myself in them. Before, I would have charged in without thinking, without asking a single damn question. I had nothing to lose, nothing behind me, nothing ahead of me, just a life in dotted lines, blurry memories. But now there was Clara. She forced her way into my head without warning. I saw her eyes again, her breath, her hand slipped into mine, and her lips against mine. That furtive kiss, almost stolen, strong enough to nail me to the spot, strong enough for me to remember it in the middle of hell.
Good luck, soldier.
Her voice resonated so clearly it took my breath away. Her words, her kiss, everything I could have lived with her, all of that hit me full force. I lowered my eyes. No, I didn't recognize myself in these faces ready to die for the mission. Not anymore. If I had to die tonight, I wanted it to be for a good reason. And dying in an unknown tin can, that wasn't a good reason.
Gentlemen, follow me.
Iceman, Morris crossed the threshold first, as he had promised. Hawkins followed him immediately, tense on his weapon. Benson went right after, and I fell in step, heart pounding in my ears. As soon as we were inside, the light of the searchlights disappeared instantly, swallowed by the darkness. Without our flashlights, we would have seen absolutely nothing. Nothing. Morris's beam clicked on, a pale cone lost in a void too vast. The first thing that struck me was the silence. Not a hum, not a click, not even the echo of our steps, just a thick, suffocating silence. Then the smell. Not of metal, nor of fuel. A cold scent, almost sterile, with something indefinable, like air escaping from a chest kept closed for too long. Hawkins whispered, barely audible.
Damn, what is this? Doesn't look like a cockpit. It's way too big.
Benson's beam swept the floor. It revealed a smooth, dark surface, without plates, without screws, without the slightest identifiable relief. Just an unknown material, which seemed to absorb the light instead of reflecting it.
Grant, Morris breathed without turning around. Keep your eyes open. In here, anything could be a trap. He added, lower, and remember Korea. Watch where you step.
I was the youngest of the team, the least experienced too, and Morris knew it. It wasn't altruism, it was pure command, keeping his soldier alive so he remained useful. I looked around me. We had just emerged into a surprisingly vast room, far too large to be the interior of a simple plane. The walls were covered in strange panels, embedded with perfectly smooth black rectangles. There must have been a dozen of them, aligned like windows, but windows without transparency, opaque. When our flashlights illuminated them, the light didn't bounce back like on ordinary glass. It broke into tiny iridescent reflections, as if the surface was decomposing the beams. I had never seen that. It looked like a material between metal and glass, without really being either one. In the center of the room was a sort of table, or a console maybe. An oval block, seamless, without any buttons, without levers, without handles. Nothing. Just a dark surface, perfectly smooth, that vaguely evoked glass, but a glass as cold as steel. I placed my hand a few inches away without touching. The surface reflected our distorted silhouettes, as if it was waiting for us to put something on it, or for us to put a hand on it.
Colonel, I don't see any controls. No dials, no switches, nothing.
Morris took a step forward, his flashlight beam sliding over the console.
Maybe it's controlled differently. I don't know.
It looked like a control room without a single instrument, and that was perhaps the most unsettling part. I moved away from the central console, drawn by an opening on the left, an oval airlock, recessed into the wall like a gaping mouth. My flashlight swept the interior. At first glance, it suggested a technical compartment, but without cables, without tools, without anything that should have been there. Torn panels, hanging wires, an acrid smell of heated plastic. And in the middle of the passage, several kinds of furniture, rectangular blocks overturned, gutted, covered in wires as fine as spider webs. I tried to step over a thicker cable, and then something grabbed my ankle. A hand, a gloved hand that closed on me like a trap. I screamed, more from surprise than pain, pure reflex. I fell backward, heart in my throat, pulling against that grip that refused to let go. Benson and Hawkins rushed over, weapons raised. Morris appeared at my back, his beam aimed at my boot. All lights converged on the source. It was indeed a hand, human. It belonged to a man lying under one of the overturned modules, a sort of metal cabinet crushing his legs. His suit vaguely suggested NBC gear, but smoother, silver, reinforced with dark, flexible plates. An ovoid helmet, opaque, reflected a pale glare under our lights. And his outfit, God damn, it looked like a spacesuit straight out of a pulp magazine from my childhood, except this one was real. His hand finally loosened. It fell back, trembling. Morris knelt beside him.
Careful. He's geared up like a deep-sea diver. Maybe he doesn't breathe our air. Easy does it.
Benson and Hawkins positioned themselves on either side, rifles braced against their shoulders. I approached, still trembling, and slid my fingers under the rim of the helmet. It took me 2 seconds to find the mechanism. A click, a hiss of compressed air. The helmet detached. Underneath, a face appeared, a man about 30 years old, blonde, skin livid, forehead covered in cold sweat. Every breath seemed a struggle. His gaze locked onto mine, light eyes, terrified, human. He tried to raise his hand, but it fell back immediately. Then he spoke, in perfect English, in a strangled voice.
Help me. I'm begging you. Help me. My name is Carter. Commander Daniel Carter. From NASA.